I'm Dean DeGroot, historian from the Minnesota Career Development Association. For the past 25 years, there's been efforts to make a useful historic archive for MCDA. A greater focus has been in the past 3 years, identifying what information we have and don't have. For many years, MCDA and its predecessor organizations have noted the importance of history by recommending that there be a designated historian. This mission, unfortunately, has not always been observed. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the work we've done recently. So the topics are going to be early efforts, historians, changes in technology, recent efforts, what kind of information is available, accessing archive information, benefits of the current archive, collection efforts, and how you can help, as well as how you contact MCDA. In terms of early efforts, the first noted historian is Marty Dockman, who had been involved in the career field in the Twin Cities for many, many years. He was a past president, and in 1978, he authored a summary letter which provided context for the organization, how it started, and what some of the mission was for MCDA. He was very pivotal in terms of the planning and professional career development efforts back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Another individual who was very pivotal was Jim Wolfe, who I served with on the board my first year in 1997. Jim was the first person to point out that MCDA's past practices suggested that there be a historian. That same year, myself and Barb Krantz-Taylor, who I believe was on the board, we inherited some old files from the Minnesota Association for Counseling and Development when that individual administrator was retiring. So she gave us 2 boxes of information. What we did when we got this information was we started to make an appeal for old documents. And this was done through emails, phone calls, and little articles in the newsletter asking past and present members to provide information. I gathered that information, filed it away, and sorted it. And some of the information that we acquired was created into articles that were published in the MCDA communique, our newsletter. So basically, the history was all about storage boxes. Most of the information was from the 1990s through about 2010. These boxes were kept in bankers' boxes. There's also, besides documents, some plaques that MCDA won at national conferences. The historians that I'm aware of are, again, Marty Dockman, who was the last president of the Twin Cities Vocational Guidance Association and the first president of the Minnesota Vocational Guidance Association, what we were called before MCDA. There may have been other historians that I'm unclear of. I served as historian from 1997 to 2005 and from 2016 to present. Another past president was Nancy Frosch, who for 10 years took on the mantle of historian. Changes in technology have also led to changes in how we collect our history. The earliest history documents were handwritten or typed minutes before copying machines, newsletters were typed, and some of the printing process were used for other production. Copying machines made things easier as well. And in 1999-2000 was the first appearance of a website technology committee. Based on what's in our files, it appears that newsletters were routinely mailed to members through 2004. In 2005, 2006, newsletters began electronically, and that's when our way of needing to file and organize history started to change. We have had some history information on the MCDA website for several years for your information. Other efforts were Darren Colfett, who has served as president in 2013, 2014. He actually began the MCDA Google Drive archive, and he encouraged past and present members to contribute. Committees and their chairs came up with documents such as end-of-the-year reports, and they began uploading them to the Google Drive. Another key part of this whole effort is the role of the MCDA secretary, who often is the organizer and uploader of various documents such as minutes, agendas, and other documents. There began in 2020 discussions with the historian about what information should be collected and how. So what kind of information is available? We still retain paper files from the 1950s to present. Some years are missing throughout this time. From 2013 to present, most records have been digitized and are now on the Google Drive after some collection efforts. So there are 17 folders on the Google Drive. I'm just going to briefly describe some of them. The administrator, which deals with the analytics, membership, and website information. Bylaws, the committees that have been in existence over the years, but of course have changed. Communications and Social Media Committee, Diversity and Inclusion Committee. MCDA History contains historian and book board actions, Marty Dockman documents, Sunny Hansen documents, and various historical summaries. Membership and Outreach Committee, membership surveys, which are basically polls of members and the demographics and needs of the membership. Mentorship folder, the newsletter, and president folders. Finally, the professional development. We have professional development information from 1962 onward, by the way. The secretary folder, spring conference folder, strategic planning, the treasurer, and Zoom recordings. Some of the benchmarks that I want you to know about for MCDA. The first has to do with the national founding of career work, which was Frank Parsons in 1910 when he convened the first convention in Boston. Then in 1920, the Minneapolis Vocational Guidance Association is organized and incorporated to become MVGA. The oldest records are of the Twin Cities Vocational Guidance Association from 1955 and 56. The membership in 1959 and 60 were over 200 members. And in 1963-64, the members paid a whopping fee of $2 a year and student members $1. The first known national recognition was to TCVGA in 1964 and 65 at a national conference. In 1969 and 70, Elvira Clark was the first female president of the chapter. And in 1971, NVGA recognized TCVGA as a state chapter. So Minnesota became the 10th chapter in the United States for career professional organizations. In 1978 and 79, MVGA won their first Outstanding Achievement Award at a national conference, and we have done so 5 times since. 1992-93 was the high watermark for membership for MCDA at 436 members. In 1999, MCDA became a nonprofit. In 2002-2003, membership was at 364. In 2020 and 2021, membership fell to 122, mostly because of the COVID pandemic. How do we access the current archive? The MCDA archive is accessible to board members and some past officers. Access allows committees and their chairs to provide either ongoing or year-end documents and reports. Information can be useful for planning purposes based on past practices, metrics, and resources. If you're interested in access, send an email to the MCDA administrator at mincareerdevelopment@gmail.com. As you can see in the picture, old records take up a lot of space and they look kind of ugly, in fact. So the benefits of a current archive is easier storage, portability of information, more easily accessible to members, or information will likely be used and valued. In terms of collection efforts, MCDA secretary is often the gatekeeper for many of the documents and will occasionally interact with the historian regarding information. The historian reviews collected information, makes efforts to find and collect additional information, and provides summaries in some form for members. The president reminds board members of the need to save and archive information, refer members to the historian to turn over past information, and to charge committee chairs to document and archive the reports. How can you help? Contact the historian at deanrdgroat@gmail.com or call 612-789-9596. We need to stay vigilant and intentional in our collection efforts in order to make sure that we're not losing information. For more information, our website is mcda.net. You could also contact us by mailing to Minnesota Career Development Association, P.O. Box 3421, Minneapolis, Minnesota 55403, or email our administrator at mincareerdevelopment@gmail.com. I hope this has provided you with some new insights about the great history of our professional organization.